Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody here. Today's Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. Welcome to the live trading room recap and mastering the charts learning reinforcement. Today, we got a lot of things to cover. First, we'll go into talking about what the markets are doing. We'll be monitoring some trades throughout this whole presentation, or potential trades. How's that? As we get started. And then we'll go into a little more explanation on what Caitlin does each morning to prepare for all the little pieces of information that she gathers. Well, today's teaching topic will be more around the pre-market routine. Now that'll kind of blend into as we do a recap of a live trading room and some of the things that we've looked at. Now, many years ago, I designed a free market routine for myself, and I've been sharing that with a lot of students over the years. It becomes systematic after you do it so many times. So it's basically, you've got to get that repetition built up. In discovering and putting together the pre-market routine, I realized that a lot of students they don't like to document. They don't like to get that information, but it's the fastest way to accelerate your learning curve is by documenting the information on the price chart. Okay, the more that you document it, the more you become familiar with it. The familiarity then allows you to manage the emotions when you participate in a trade. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons that we do that documentation each and every morning so that we kind of get an idea of when things are just firing on all cylinders and doing really well, or when things are really kind of messed up. Okay. And before I jump into the disclosures and things like that, we've been watching the NASDAQ and the S&P just chop sideways here. Okay. Ever since the market's been open, we got one little move and everything's just gone quiet again. Okay. So we're monitoring things very closely. The one thing that I do want to kind of keep you guys aware of, okay, excuse me, is a picture on the price chart that often can lead into a potential good trade. Okay, so I'm going to kind of draw out the template over here on the left-hand side, what I anticipate to happen over on the right-hand side. Okay, so as price kind of dropped down and got into what I'm looking at is more of a channel. Okay, so as price keeps basing sideways and going back and forth in these channels, it causes us to create some emotions here. First emotion that I'm having right now is I have to wait. So every time, the whole time I'm waiting, I'm just watching, when do I get in? Okay. Now, part of the way this is setting up right now, okay, due to the stronger move into this, is we have a resistance up above, which I have marked in red. I'm going to go ahead and mark it again. And we have a support area. And the support area has also been tested 3 times. Okay. Now, one of the other odds enhancers that I look for in this particular structure, excuse me, is how many times is price bouncing around in here? You got that first test. And the second one, oops, I forgot to do something. Hold on 1 second. There we go. All right, so let me finish that up. Sorry, I forgot to do something over on the other side here. How many times has price generally bounced around here when we have a low tight base? What are the numbers that we can be watching for? Now, this is just a possibility. And I'm going to build this out to see if I need to play this back to the upside, or if I should be planning for the breakout that often happens on point number 7. Okay. One of the odds enhancers that I use is a 50 simple moving average. Okay, and I like that 50 moving average to have basically come right down into that price level there. So what I'm going to do is put the okay. And I also look for Fibonacci retracements that from the high to the low, this does not retrace greater than 1/3 or 38% retracement. Okay. So currently, if I'm looking at this picture correctly, and I want to participate in this particular trade, my anticipation is that this is going to be where we have the breakout, point number 6. Okay. So let's add that 50 simple moving average to the chart. And we can see that the 50 has caught up to price. Okay. We can see that we have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and now we're at 0.6. Okay. So I still need the opportunity to find a way to get into this and manage my risk. Okay. I'm going to use the leg base group of candles at point number 6 as that potential place. Okay. I can wait for the breakout at point number 7. Okay. And or I can take some additional risk if I choose to and look to enter the trade. And I could come in a little bit later. I could probably come in about that 193. Okay. Projections for this type of a pattern, okay, using the Fibonacci levels going from point number 1 all the way back up to the high, is that we extend down, and very often the break below will go to a 127 or 1618 extension. Okay. So if the pattern over here works out, I have a 127 extension, target 1, and I have a 1618 extension. Now we just have to find a way to get into that. Okay, if this is going to play out. Now there is a chance that this just keeps going back up. Okay, then that would be more of a drop, a base, and a rally, and this area here will be where they have an accumulation of orders. Okay, now, I'm still betting that the market will move lower on this simply because of what the dollar is doing on another chart. Okay, but I'm still looking for that opportunity to get into it. Okay, so I'm watching the S&P. We're also watching how the NASDAQ is playing out. NASDAQ also has a very tight range, difficult for trading. Okay, very difficult. I've gotten beat up a couple of times this last week, just not getting a move out of these is what I expected, okay? All right, so with that in mind, one of the trades that I am watching closely here will be once price does start to move back below, and I'm gonna give it a little wiggle room here, 193.5. That's where I'll look to take the trade short, okay? Now, I do need help from the stocks. Apple's basing out right here. Tesla also basing. And we got Amazon just and Meta disrupting everything, okay? So we got a lot of mixed markets. The equity indexes are starting to equal out now a bit later in the session, almost like an inside day, okay? So having that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and set that trade up, and I'm going to use a pretty good stop loss, which would be about 196. So it'd be about 3-4 points on the S&P. Okay. I'll come back in just a moment to place that. We'll be monitoring it as we progress through that. Okay. This is just one potential trade. Okay. That I'm looking for right now to play out. I also want to recognize that we have a speed bump right over to the left. As price breaks out, we could get a short-lived trade. So every once in a while, you will see that price will pop up just a little bit before giving us the breakout in 0.7. Okay, it's not always just a straight horizontal line. Okay, so speed bump in play, test the speed bump, then pull back. That is a possibility. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to be watching what's going on here. Yeah, user Ted, thanks for posting that. When I was asking how many times does it bounce, when you have a low type base or a high type base, it's often the 7th time when it breaks out. Can be as much as the 11th. Okay. For the 5th time a breakout happens, generally those are patterns with a bull flag, a bear flag, a pennant, a triangle, a wedge. Okay, all of those are usually in cup and handle will break out on the 5th time, whereas a low tight base often breaks out on the 7th time. Okay, so a little lesson on that, and that's what I'm expecting. I could be really conservative and wait for the break on the 7th time, or I can anticipate where I might find an area here testing the speed bump. Okay, and then price turning back into this now a dead space. Okay, and we'll watch how that plays out. Okay, now just because I anticipate the move, okay, doesn't mean I will have a trade opportunity. Okay, let me point that out real clearly. Okay, this is what I plan to happen. Okay, if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with that. This is just one potential trade. Okay, we could look at that drop base and have a rally out of here. Okay, but I'm planning to go short if the 7th time breaks out, and if I get a good leg base group of candles around the 6th time. Okay, I would like to go long. Okay, but I'm seeing that the dollar is now back in a place where we're just chopping sideways. Okay, so more on this in just a few moments. Information contained in this presentation should not be construed as a recommendation or an offer to buy or sell any security or financial instrument. Additionally, information contained in this presentation does not imply the suitability of any investment strategy. We are not licensed brokers or investment advisors. All attendees to the presentation and purchasers of our content are encouraged to speak with a licensed representative of their choice regarding the appropriateness of investing, trading of any investment, or any trading strategy. We're using real-time market data and we'll execute trades in a simulated account during our presentation. No offer on our part with respect to sale or purchase of any security is intended or implied, and nothing contained in here should be construed as a recommendation to take a position in the market. The sole intent of this information is for instructional purposes only, training the eyes. Any fair use of third-party trademarks does not imply an affiliation or a sponsorship. All trading does involve high risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results. And we make no promises, guarantees, warranties, suggesting that any information shared will result in a profit and not in a loss. You also agree to not hold us legally or financially responsible for any reason. Purpose of this class to recap the live trading room and do some reviews and assessments of things that you guys might be looking at. We're also going to do a small lesson on the importance of having a pre-market routine, something that is very solid and mapped out, and something that you're documenting each day, okay? Now, when we talk about that section, I don't want you to get overloaded that you got to figure out so many things. Just start with a couple of things, okay? And get comfortable using that information. And then that information can be turned into a trading strategy. Okay. Please keep in mind, keep your mic muted unless you want everybody to hear what's going on behind you. When you have a question or comment or chart set up to share, unmute your mic, feel free to share your screen. And I do encourage you to ask questions. Okay. Your questions help direct the way that I'm teaching to better suit the needs of the students rather than me just talking about what I want to talk about. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to stress this quite a bit over and over and over again. Okay. I do want to show you in the Discord room where to post these. Okay. You got picture perfect past trades. Basically got general chat, why we fail, picture perfect past trades. Okay. So I want to look and find the picture perfect past trades and then post them in the picture perfect past trade slide here. Okay. Now I frequent this, Caitlin frequents this, and we look to see how the students are adapting to the information shared. Okay. The importance of posting in here for us is that we're able to stay closer on topic as to what the students need for the specific market condition. Okay. By you posting charts in here, we're able to better satisfy or better help students see the picture better. Okay. We'll come back and if we have some picture perfect past trade setups, we'll post them in there. Okay. So the repetition is how we learn to trust what we see on the price chart and then anticipate the right side of the chart, just like we did over here. Okay. This is the stick drawing that I anticipate to happen. Okay. That does not mean it will happen, but this is the one I anticipate to happen. The reason I anticipate to happen on this is that if price does break out into that speed bump, okay, and then come back into this area, I expect price to go through the dead space, and this would be the seventh time we'd be looking for that breakout. Wow, Russell got all the way up there. Okay, so I do have Russell way up there. We have Russell hit a prep screen zone. Okay, there's not much wiggle room in this. We're 10 minutes away from market changing. Let's see. I'm going to add the ATR on this. And the reason I'm adding the average true range on this is I want to see how much I should give as a trailing stop. 6 points. Oof. Good thing I'm staying with the micros. All right, so I'm giving this a 6-point trailing stop. I sold short in the prep screen zone. So I'll be buying back. Cover that. Now you can use a variation of that, whatever suits your needs as far as your risk management and your purpose for trading. Okay. This was a prep screen zone. It was on a smaller time frame. Okay. The prep screen zones have been working fairly well over the last few days. This morning, a great entry down here. I missed it, of course. Yesterday, the S&P was right up in a prep screen zone, hit it once, twice, 3 times. There were trades greater than 1-to-1 off of that zone. Okay. Kind of want to reiterate that. Okay. So I have a 6-point trailing stop. My max risk on the trade at this point in time is $56, and I'm using 2 micros. I may look for opportunities to add on to this position once we get underway. Okay. Now we hit a prep screen zone. What I would like to know is what is the daily ATR on this one here. So let's M2K, let's bring out a daily chart. The reason I'm coming out to the daily chart is I just want to double check. 33 points, we had 15, so that's only 50%. Okay, so what I was looking for is the Globex range to be greater than 75% of the daily ATR. The daily ATR is 33, 34. Okay, so 15 or 16 is really just right about 50%. So there was no Globex trap in this situation. The strategy. Next week, we'll talk about the different strategies that we use throughout the trading room, live trading room session. Okay, so we got a little move off of that. Let it work. I have a trailing stop. And you can see how the trail stop is just following price down. Okay. How we do it on the S&P. Okay. S&P still holding point number 6. And I'm just watching for any leg base group of candles up here to where it might be the start of that move down. Okay. Now let's expand this out a little bit. Okay. Although I do expect 0.7 to break down. And I see that most of the touches are on the left-hand side and the pivot low being on the right-hand side. Once we hit that low point, 41.75, 41.62, what I'm anticipating from here is a strong impulse wave move, breaking above the resistance. So now we're looking at multiple areas. I'm looking for a kind of a fake out breakout. And then we'll look for a deeper pullback before resuming an uptrend. Okay. So it's not just one part of this. There's many parts to what we're looking at. As we understand small structures leading into bigger structures, we're then able to add on to a position and also forecast the right side of the chart with a little more accuracy. Okay. All right. So that's my plan. Price coming down, 41.75. Back up. Potentially into the speed bump, finding a little resistance. Pulling back down in order to find where we're potentially going long and a brand new fresh accumulation of buy orders. Okay. IBM, Goldman Sachs. At least they're going in the right direction. same direction. Does look like they're going to push price up higher first, so. We have a small zone on YM. 33,378, 33,399. NASDAQ just continues to chop back and forth. Difficult. Copper has had a nice move off. We had several really nice little trade setups here today. Didn't look like much right around the session open. And we also explained, and this is almost the same picture that I was describing on the other chart. Canadian dollar. Okay, we did have a nice zone on that. Price did get a 1-to-1, but since that resistance had been used several times, price breaking through that. 3 touches over on the left, pivot on the right, potential breakout into the speed bump area. Okay, we'll look for the rest of that chart to play out the same way. Okay. All right. So the reason we collect 100 picture perfect trade setups is that we start training the eyes and we start that visualization process. The more charts that we verify that have the same self-similar pattern, the better we are at estimating the right side of the chart and how to determine the next potential swings. Using demand zones and supply zones, leg base parameters around that, okay? We can then look for places where we project for that turning point, okay, where we have the leg base group of candles. Now, I encourage everybody to create their own folder, but I would love to see more people posting picture perfect past trades in the Discord room. All of those pictures help other people see that, especially the people that are reluctant to post the 100 picture perfect past trade setups. It helps them to get more comfortable in posting. Okay, they say, oh, I can do that, everybody else is doing it. Okay, so again, we come down to traders helping traders, and traders helping traders do the homework. Okay, we're going to come back and look through this in a moment. From the live trading room, just doing a little recap. Okay, index futures pulling back, moving out, moving lower in the pre-market. Okay, we did have several of the markets gapping down outside the prior session, which led us to more of the gap and run. Coming back to the charts for a moment. On the S&P, the Globex range was 3750 and the average true range (44 points), so 37, 44, that's greater than 75% of the daily ATR. Okay, so that set us up for an opportunity to trade the bull trap or the bear trap. Okay, now I want to make that clear as far as having a trading strategy. We mapped the Globex high and the Globex low. When that range, and that's why we collect that information as documentation, when that range is greater than 75% of the daily ATR, we look for the demand zone just below the Globex low or a supply zone just above the Globex high for a trading opportunity. Okay. So there may be additional opportunities inside of that range, but you're going to have to reduce the time frame to find them. Okay. So in further documentation, we saw the price was gapping outside the prior day's range, meaning opened and gapped down just a few ticks. Okay? Even if it's one tick, it's done. Okay. Now, when price gaps outside the prior day's trading range, we're not really expecting a gap fill the same trading day. So if the gap does not fill today, which is back up to the prior session's close and the gap fill, then this will be an unfilled outside day gap. Outside day gap. Okay.
Question.
Those don't often fill. Go ahead, Chris.
Since you're talking about those gaps, I'm a little confused about this. If it happens to fill during the Globex, that has nothing to do with it, right?
That's correct.
It's just a live situation that you're looking at, correct?
The session open, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, now, if you see opportunities other ways, because we do have some students that use just a .d chart, okay, and that's where they map the gap or that range of the gap. Perfectly fine. Okay, what we do at the Elite Trade here is we share our concepts and our ideas with you, and now you take that information and formulate that into your trading plan. If you feel that there's something that you don't like or you do like, okay, if you don't like it, then take the time to document what you feel is right. Okay. Now I know, Chris, you've done this on your own when we're talking about the crude oil and natural gas. Okay. Because what I used to show is a different strategy around that. You took the information and made it your own strategy simply because you were observing and documenting information. Okay. As I mentioned before, we're going to talk about what information we collect during the pre-market. Okay. These are a few things. Okay. The Globex range tells me that, is there a strategy I can use, the bear trap or the bull trap strategy today? Okay. Price gapping outside or inside tells me about a direction or potential gap fill, where we have a higher probability of a gap fill on a gap down or up inside the range versus outside. What we have to determine is, some traders would dismiss, well, it only broke out a little. That's okay if you document it. In my observation, even if it breaks a little, it's broken. Okay. It's broken. So once it's broken, okay, then you have that piece of information. Price is either outside or inside the prior day's trading range. Inside days, they bring along with it a little more choppy conditions. Trades happen later in the session rather than earlier in the session, and so on and so forth. Okay. So we have Fed Chairman coming out at 9 a.m., which is done. PMI done, and new home sales that came out at 10 a.m. We got a little bit of movement off of those. Now the 10 a.m. announcement, part of the pre-market routine. Okay, the 10 a.m. announcement is that statistically, we see that 85% of the time price changes direction, plus or minus a couple of minutes, okay, around the 10 a.m. Okay. If price is arriving in a demand zone or in a supply zone at 10 a.m. on the money at 10 a.m., then we have a trade opportunity. If it arrives in a demand zone or a supply zone about 5 or 6 minutes earlier than the 10 o'clock reversal, we often get a bounce, and then price continues in the dominant direction. Okay. So again, when we look at news and economic reports, and we see the time that the news is being released, we also have to calculate in that 85% of the time the market changes direction at 10 a.m. Okay, kind of that opening rush. Crude oil, we're looking for a long breakout opportunity, 73.90. Have we got up to that area yet? No, we're not up there yet. We have that on the higher time frame. Price is currently in that resistance area. I am watching heating oil as crude oil keeps pushing up for the breakout. Heating oil is pushing on a support. Now, part of that discrepancy that you're seeing happens a certain time each month. See, last trade date for crude oil is not the same last trade date on heating oil. So heating oil and crude oil may show a slight different variation. Okay, especially around contract rollover and also last trade date on some of these commodities. Okay, so when things don't feel right, look outside the price chart. Is there a full moon? Okay, is is it the last trade date? Is it contract rollover? Make sure that you know those things that are happening outside the price chart when things are not correlated as you have seen in the past. Okay. All right, how are we doing on the S&P?
Order filled.
Okay. I'm going to come in here and do a trailing stop on that one as well.
RTY is coming down nicely.
Is it? Nicely. All right, so I've reduced my risk down to $4, having a trailing stop. Well, you've been having some really good luck with some of these prep screen zones lately, haven't you, Chris?
Yes, they've been working very nicely. I was surprised. This one, this is a short, so interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to get it. The thing that I'm watching closely right now is if we start making a high tide base, then I'll jump out. I'd like us to see us, break below that 1815 and get a deeper pullback, and then I'd be expecting a little more move. The longer it stays up here at the 23% retracement, the higher probability that it's going to continue to move up. Oh, looks like I'm gonna get stopped here.
Order filled.
That's a challenge. The trailing stop is a good thing to use. If you don't get a big enough cushion on it at the start, it can be pretty choppy here. Okay. All right. So we'll just keep an eye on the Russell. You guys let me know if we can take out that 1815. That would be a beautiful thing. Okay. All right, where were we here? Anyways, coming back to the pre-market routine, equity indexes pulling back, moving lower in the pre-market, monitor the pre-market trend. The trend was higher in this morning, okay, but we need to monitor that throughout the day and also monitor that in the pre-market, gauge whether banks and institutions are buying on the pullback or whether they're selling on the pullback. Now, you have to understand when the trend is moving up, the markets should be moving down. That's what we would see as a positive divergence. If we see the trend is high and the markets are moving higher, that's a negative divergence, okay? Trend is high, markets time to buy, okay? That means we're looking for them to be pulling back. If the trend is low, then the markets need to be high, okay, going into a supply zone, which is a positive divergence, okay? Trend low, time to go, okay? Now, if the trend is low and the markets are dropping, that's a negative divergence, something that we need to set back and kind of reanalyze, okay? Not participate in that. So there's a lot of great information here, and it's what we had. Here's the Russell zone, and it was a real tiny one too, okay? Just a little more than 1 point, okay? Some people say, it's going to blow right through it. It could have, okay, but it held, as we're demonstrating now here. I mean, look at, I remember the place I used to work at, and Joanne, you can't use a zone that small. I go, but it worked. He said, you can't use it. We had a pretty good debate on that. How's the S&P doing? Still going. Yeah, just a little too tight with my 2.5 point trailing stop. Okay. Now, every time that price comes down to support or to a resistance, write down this statistic. 78% of the time, when price hits a support or a resistance, it's going to bounce. Okay. So we have to anticipate that once price gets down to this support area, that there will be a bounce before going lower. In that bounce, we are looking for a leg base group of candles. It's where we can help manage our risk. So on a
Archie-
micro scale here, I would anticipate price coming down.
RTY is in the 1815 area.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, breaking it down. Nice. Anybody else take that trade? That almost, what are we at? Yeah, $85 up. So that almost pays for your live trading or your mastering the charts recap and review. Now, we still have an unfilled inside day gap. Down below, we have a prep screen. We also have another support area that we could look for price moving lower as well. Okay. The fact that we're dropping more than 1/3 down, that's given me more hope that we continue to move lower. Okay. Nobody took that trade? How about the S&P? Anybody take the S&P off of that? I know, you're too busy listening, right? Learning. 78% of the time, you're going to get a bounce before price off a support or a resistance. Okay. So right in here, this area is where we're looking for that leg base group of candles.
Yeah, I scalped them both, the M2K and the ES. I was also trading stocks. I was trading NVIDIA as well, Tesla, AI, which is C3. So, yeah, doing pretty good.
Nice. Good
Yeah,
job.
when you said, when Chris came in and said M2K or whatever, the Russell's going down, I just jumped on that real quick.
Chris will put her address in there to where you can send a check.
No, I just want him to cook a meal for me.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. Yeah, whatever you want. I'll box it and send it to you. I don't care. So no, I love when Jeff teaches too. You know, I love this part. So I just jumped into session now. So this is my favorite part. So
It's coming in, it's coming up to the VWAP too. That's another thing.
Russell M2K
Down, I mean, to it. Yeah.
1809.30,
Yeah. I have
which is also 50% retracement.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, if you're gonna have him cook, I would say crab cakes and lobster.
Yeah, no problem. I can pull them together and make you a bouillabaisse
Yeah,
with
you
real
know.
saffron.
Are you going to pay for my airplane ticket or are you?
No, I'm going to send it out to you.
Oh.
I'm going to ship it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking my dad out in a few hours for his birthday. So
We're also seeing that the US dollar is about ready to break up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see if the indexes are going to go down or if they're going to go up with that. Okay. Those are some additional pieces of information that we're monitoring. The tight range have just been whipsawing me back and forth. So I'm going to try to stay away from that and wait for a good clean break and a retest. But as we finish up with the live trading room recap, This is the picture I posted in the Discord room in the pre-market. Okay, almost an hour before we started. Okay, there was a trade set up on the euro. British pound was at support. Okay, now I want you to see that when I posted these trades, some of them were already in the zone. Okay, so you had to take it as it was leaving the zone. We had just after the session open, we had Canadian dollar triggered back up into supply, and I want to talk about that one for a moment. We did have silver. Silver is not one that I particularly trade because, well, the margin and it can leave a big bite if it goes the wrong way on you. Okay. We did get a bounce off of support for gold with the zone at 1952, 1947. 5-year got a break after some of the economic news came out. Okay. And notice a third picture as we followed up. Euro got a great bounce. We got a nice 1-to-1 off the Canadian dollar. Beautiful 2-to-1 off of silver. British pound, I need to go back and check. Nice move out to 5-year. Okay, so when you're feeling like you're not sure what's happening, okay, with the equity indexes, and they've been in that tight range, some of these other products will be better for you to go out and observe and watch. Okay, they were still looking for the breakout on crude. We're seeing some weakness because the dollar's moving up on the euro, and now the euro has another opportunity taking the breakout to the downside. So let's investigate that. Where could it go? Okay, so this area, we can see price moved up, tested it once, twice, 4 times. Okay, so we'd be looking at this area as support with a break at 76.05. Coming back over and looking, we got a nice little pocket of points. Okay. We're seeing more and more Fed chairmen seem to be supporting, well, they're kind of getting mixed. Some are supporting 2 more rate increases. Some are anticipating a pause. Okay. So with a pause, that's going to send the other FX markets lower while sending the dollar higher. Okay. A little lesson on the Canadian dollar in choosing a zone. Okay. Whether the zone is going to be a bounce or whether it's going to be more of a trend. Okay. And the reason I want to point this out is because we have another supply zone up here that's also inside of a used area. Okay. It's in the right location. Okay, but price has spent a little bit of time up here. In this example here, this morning I had a leg base group of candles right around in this range here. Okay. Price broke out, active, and moved away greater than 2-to-1 from that zone. Okay. So why
The
did
VWAP.
we on the Russell?
Yeah, I just took another 5 off of that. It's right now it's hitting 1812, which is a well, in my mind, Globex other than the 8 a.m. Look at that. So cross nice calling that VWAP.
So the prior session's high is right about where the VWAP is at 1809, right? Yeah.
1809.7.
Yep.
Right. 1812 is what I call my Globex high. Because I also separate that from the 8 a.m. high and low. So sorry about that.
That's all right. I got monitor
So-
these trades too.
Shall I get out at this VWAP or shall I hang in? That's the big question.
How many do you have?
Huh?
How many do you have? How many
Two,
contracts?
just two. Two
Dump
might-
one. 1270 is your 38.2 retrace. So it's on it. So I dump mine. So if you want to dump one and let one run.
Yeah, okay.
Love it. Traders up and traders.
I don't know anything.
I know I got stopped out at the S&P and it's still slowly grinding down. We're looking for that, where that leg base group of candles will be. And I'm expecting a little bounce off of that support, okay? We'll see how that plays out. Eventually, what you will take all of these pivot highs and lows, and you will use a Fibonacci time extension, okay? Whereas you go from peak to peak and you start looking for where the next peak or valley will be. The time extensions are really quite fascinating when you get into them, because then you're able to see that symmetry in price and in time. Okay, but that's not a lesson for today. I'm getting distracted here. Dollar is right there at the high of the session, potentially doing a breakout. And I want to know where that dollar may decide to take a break, because that'll be where we want to take our profits on some of the other trades. Okay, so notice here we had three touches. Oops.
Would you jump out to a higher time frame on the dollar to find out, or would you just stay in a lower time?
You can.
Yeah.
I was just looking for that picture.
Oh, I
And-
see what it's doing. Okay, that's a breakout. Oh, and it's continuing. Okay.
Yeah, so
Oh, I see.
I saw the three touches on a 15-30 minute chart. Okay, I'm going to draw them out
Okay.
where we have this support.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be looking around this drop area for a zone. It may even just go up a little bit higher above that. And the reason I'm thinking about going up higher is, notice this area all across here. That's all
Like a flip. Yeah.
So used orders, price could go through it. So looking for that 107, 104 and 10 cents. It's all about getting that picture and location of your zone. And then seeing the upside potential. Okay, now, if price does start to break into that area, okay, how is that going to impact the other indexes?
They'll start going up.
And then we just have to have where we have support and resistance, and like, again, we're just mapping out what are the possibilities. Okay. If the equity indexes, or sorry, if the dollar keeps going up, will that impact the equity indexes? Or
It has an effect on it. Yeah, definitely.
how have we seen the commodities or the ags acting towards the dollar? Anybody?
That I don't really understand.
Yeah, I don't follow ags either, but if the dollar's going up and what are the ags agricultural?
Over the
It
last
costs-
few days.
It'll bring
when
them down, wouldn't it? Because it costs more.
Well, yes, but in observation over the last few days, when the dollar goes up, so do the commodities. When the dollar goes down, so do the commodities,
Okay.
right? Yeah, you can also, Liz is also piping in there, you can also go out to MRCI and for a 30-day window. I'm looking at a little closer window, maybe last 5 or 10 days in observation. Okay.
Yeah, same here, Liz.
So what has been happening the last few days is we've seen corn and wheat moving up with the dollar. Now, this morning, we saw the dollar drop, and so did soybeans and soybean meal and bean oil. Okay. So just keep observing these. And at this point, I'm going to start looking at like a 20-minute time frame, smaller time frame, to see where we have potential opportunity. Okay. Now we'll do this here in the classroom environment so that you can see and get a good observation of when what the dollar is doing right now is moving up towards a breakout area. As I'm looking for a leg base group of candles. In this example, soybeans came back down to a resistance area. You have to drop down the time frame to get to 3 touches. Okay. Don't fudge it when you're learning. Okay. We've got a buy territory. And we had price drop into that buy territory. Some unfilled orders. Okay. Now, if we start looking at the structure of this, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches on the left. But this pivot low is in the middle. And we still have a couple more touches. Okay. So the anticipation of this move would be stronger to move back up to the opposing supply. Now, I know you guys tend to trade, what you're comfortable with. Okay. And that might be because of the price movement or swings in price and so on. Okay. But the chart patterns remain a constant in both. Okay. And knowing the cost of these commodities and how much it costs to trade them and using odds enhancers to things that are outside the price chart, like the dollar moving up, may give you a good little trading opportunity. You still have about a few hours left of that session. 2:20, I believe, was when it closed. Let's get soybean meal mapped out on a 20-minute. Right, just hit it. And we also have kind of a multiple touches here. I just gave you guys a statistic a few minutes ago. What percentage of the time does price bounce off of a support or resistance area? 78% of the time, or 76.8%. Yeah, oh, close enough. Okay, but 3 out of 4 times, the first time price hits support or resistance, you often get a bounce. Okay.
You take into consideration Globex relative to RTH on that bounce, because I saw on that level that you just had there on your chart, this would probably be the 3rd time, maybe 4th time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know from your chart which one's a Globex and which one's a RTH, or does it matter?
State the question again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you go back to that chart, wherever you were, you said we were getting a bounce, 78.6% of the time. What is that? Was it SM soy meal?
Soybean meal, yes.
Okay, so the left-hand side is the zone. We can't even touch that zone. The very center is a pivot, and we're now testing that pivot. We should break that pivot. So I just don't know, what is a regular trading hours, RTH, and what is a Globex after hours and pre-market, and whether that matters.
I use the whole price chart.
Okay.
Of course, zones created during the regular trading hours are gonna be better than the ones outside in the Globex session,
Mhm.
okay? Um,
So for example, that bounce right there to the left, that pivot,
mhm.
I don't know whether that was regular trading hours or whether Globex that we're touching down and testing it right now, which looks like it might break it. And then the zone way to the left hand side, what hours were those? But I guess we can track it.
Yeah, we can go out and find out when the Globex session
But
was.
so I'll go check it out. I'll let you continue doing your thing.
There
Sorry.
you go. So 1:30 Central, so that'd be 2:30 or 2:20 to 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. to, sorry, 8 p.m. It's all, these are all based on exchange time, so it's 1 hour different from East Coast. 8 p.m. to 2:20 p.m. So a zone created during the regular trading hours versus outside. You'd have to look at that.
Yeah. Okay. I
It
just didn't know whether you
says
put more emphasis on. It sounds like you put more emphasis on the regular trading hours.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Sorry.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm seeing the RTY definitely turn on 18:10:50. So that was the VWAP on the,
Yeah, I got 1809.7 is just about there, and it did turn a little bit. Yeah, you're right, Chris.
and
I'm just looking to the left.
the dollar is kind of dropping. So I'm closing this trade.
Yep. It might just come up, test, and drop down, but yeah, it's probably a good idea. So it came right back up to the 12 area. So now that could act as a little resistance. If it breaks through it, then we can go further. So that's a good idea to close it out.
Mhm.
Let's go.
Excellent. Okay. We had a couple of little trades this morning. Crude oil paid us out a little bit this morning. We had a really nice little trade on copper, and once copper got up into that supply, I did take a short off of that. So I had a couple of trades on there. Oh, good. We got better pictures now. I don't know.
Holy mackerel.
Had a screenshot of me that were like, where my face was swollen when I was over in Singapore. I was like,
That looks pretty good. You're styling.
Well, one of the, we can also circle the Russell would be another live trading room success. Okay, but that was a really nice trade off of the YM, calling that zone and seeing where some of the unfilled orders. Now, when we share these pictures with you, you shouldn't get a sour sour feeling. You should like, look, I missed it too. A lot of times we miss it, but this is a picture perfect past trade setup. Okay, now, okay. But what was the information on the left-hand side of the chart that helped Kaylin pick that? What time of day and other pieces of information? What time of day was the zone created? Was it created in a higher volume? So on and so forth. Okay. Because we're still waiting for some of these other ones to come down to those areas where we still have zones waiting at 4176, 4172. This is still a bear trap area. Okay. Dow. Okay, we're still, I mean, that was a nice bounce off of that, maybe almost a 2-to-1. Okay. But from 188, there was a 100-point move, almost. Yeah, 100-point move. Okay. NQ is getting weaker and the stocks are starting to get weak. Apple moving lower, Tesla. We got going Meta, nice drop on that. Okay, so the equity indexes are moving lower. What are we expecting now on the S&P? We need a leg base group of candles to form. Okay. If you don't get that little leg base group of candles in a place where you're going to be willing to risk, okay? Observe those trades, okay? 3 out of 4 times, you're going to get a bounce off of that support. What we're hoping for, what I'm hoping for, is it creates a leg base group of candles right here. Then I will anticipate taking the breakout. With this structure and pattern, I'm anticipating the breakout potential profit down to 41.75 and 41.63. Right? Be careful taking that breakout if you already took it. This is what's been nailing me for the last couple of days. Taking a breakout and then price whipping back up on it. All right, doing okay on a couple of micros on the Russell.
Yeah, I was just pointing that out to Chris when she wanted to get out there, but there was a pop up and that's what she was getting out, but it was a test of that 1812 area for a continuation down right to the VWAP and just through it. And it just hit its head on 1808.50, which is another high on the RTH. But if we keep going, I got an 1802.
And a lot of, those places that you've been looking for making profit or even seeing where price may bounce, a lot of them correlate with this little area right here, these little peaks, okay, which was old resistance. Often that's where we keep getting these little bounces, old new support, okay. Let's see what we've locked in.
1803.80 right there, right?
Yeah.
Yep, we got that.
All right, so how are we doing on the, yep, there's a bounce back up. Now, how do you participate in a trade like this? Okay. It broke that support, got it in, and now you're seeing red on the screen and you're starting to panic. Okay. What would have prepared you for that little breakout and that whipsaw back up? How would that have kept you out of the, how would you have kept yourself out of that? We do have a leg base group of candles up here. But price had not bounced off of support. Okay. We have not a leg base group of candles closer to that breakout point. I get it, price is moving. Okay. But these little trades right here have been very, very risky and very whipsaw. Okay. Here also the same thing on the NQ, break of that support. Exactly. Thank you, Liz. Yeah, Liz says if you take the breakout, you must be prepared for the retest. It's not a breakout unless you have a level form at the breakout. Okay. Now, the further that the leg base group of candles is from the breakout, the more risk you will have on a particular trade. Now, we have some prep screen zones down here that we need to pay close attention to. S&P is in the prep screen zone. Okay. Now I'm looking for price to go a little bit lower. I see that IBM is just starting to break that up trend line. Goldman Sachs gave back everything today. Okay, so I'm looking a little closer down to that 176, a preference. Okay. Dow already did it. NASDAQ also a prep screen zone, and I'm looking for a little bit further inside of that. But about that 769 area. Stocks are starting to move down sharply. Okay, the dollar is holding the resistance. It's almost like merging into traffic, right? And there's potentially an abrupt change, okay? All right, so we did, yeah, what was it? 83 was the top of that prep screen zone. So now we're getting that big whip back up. We do have a leg base group of candles on the other side of resistance. We did break out on the 7th time, didn't we? Okay, so the structure is still playing out. I just did not get an entry based on my trading plan. Okay, still waiting for it. If you miss a breakout trade, that's not the end of the world. A breakout trade is still just a breakout. You have to wait for the retest back up to a qualified leg base candle. That leg base, that zone becomes active once price moves away greater than 2 to 1. Okay, how would you on Russell? All right, so here's again coming down to that where that price had resistance and went through it. I'm looking in that range right there, about 1804. Still just trailing that stop down. Where I started off with $52 worth of risk. Now we're back at we're profiting $123 if we're stopped out. Okay. All right, so let me get this a picture of this for Caitlin. Hold on.
Is that Daniel's puking giraffe?
I'm sorry.
Is that Daniel's classic puking giraffe, as he calls it? I think that's what he calls it. So it was a nice trade.
Yeah, I'm glad to put a trailing stop on it instead of taking profits quickly.
I came up with an 1802.20.
And NASDAQ coming down. Okay. Let's see if we can, look, if you missed the move down, what could we be looking for next? Move back up? Can we be good enough to catch both ways?
Well, a confirmation out of the zone up.
Are futures oversold relative to cash? I have 9 Dow stock or 8 Dow stocks negative over 94 cents and 1, 2, 3, 4 positive. Net results 4 times 2. Cash equals -8. S&P futures are almost 20 points oversold relative to cash. That's like pulling that rubber band way back and letting it go, right? What else could support us on this?
Quarter hour.
What time is it? Excellent, Chris. Okay. We got about a minute. I'd love to see price pop in there and then just take off to the upside for us. And we'll have to give, I don't know. Too many of these prep screen zones are working, huh?
Let's hope. I'm in it.
Now, since price took out support and we have supply zones above that support, we need to keep in mind that, you know, this may not be a long-lived new trend. Okay, we're just looking for that move back up to supply. Okay. Projected move still 41.75. We have our entry set right around 176. I'm gonna move that down just a little bit more. That way we have enough wiggle room. Anybody else set to take the trade?
Well, I'm taking a confirmation at the proximal line, but I don't
Okay,
know.
183.
I'm not feeling real comfortable about it. The dollar is dropping.
I'm just giving this another minute to see if we can clear this gap. We still have the unfilled gap in the prep screen zone below. I'd love to see this continue. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 red candles.
Interesting where it bounced, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, wish I would have stayed in it.
Well, you could have, but you're green, take your profit,
That's right.
yeah, and the time of day. I'm gonna grab that profit now.
Order filled.
We got 1 o'clock coming up.
Excellent job, everybody. And we'll just look for the opportunity to get into the ES and see if we can get a move back up.
The math was pretty close. It went to 83, 83.2, 83.3, and I had an 82.2. That's interesting. 802.2. 18.
All right. So. Even we got a losing trade on here. Oh my gosh, you showed a losing trade. No, look, I get stopped out just like everybody else. Probably get stopped out more than some of you. Okay. But then I just go right on to the next trade. The other one that I want to point out, this was from May 23rd, student comment from the Discord room. First of the week out of mastering the charts course, stumbled across this setup, took 3 option trades in my IRA. Beautiful. See, I like seeing this type of information. Okay, I like seeing that when you guys post that, as it really reaffirms what we are teaching and that you've made it your own. Okay, now I do want to remind you that I can just put the information out there, okay? If you choose to document the information and you choose to verify the things that we share with you, then you will always turn it into your trading plan after that. That's why I'm begging everybody to do the picture perfect past trades and post them. All right, so let's come back out here. Oh, I probably got out too soon, but we're going to wait for it. S&P came within 2 ticks. Right around the quarter hour. Stocks are starting to bounce. Come on, come on, come on.
Order filled.
Let's see if we can get a bounce out of that. Wow, NASDAQ's right back in there too. Stocks are still giving a little pressure. MNQ, M23. Curious, we got that support, we got to move up. Looking close to the 88.6. Microsoft still ticking down. And watching the time here.
order filled.
Oh, didn't want that. .30. Oh, about 16 was gonna be bad. I'll give it 20-point trailing stop. I only got a couple micros, but we'll make it work. Anybody else jump on that? On S&P, everybody else turning.
Yeah, it's just kind of dying out there. The tick chart is showing some green ticks, but it's, I don't know. Doesn't look real strong.
It looks like it turned on the higher time frames. So I always change from the 1 minute, 2 minute, all the way up to 10, 15, 30 and see if I see green. The hammer candle in there on the MES.
Yeah, on a 15, yeah.
Yeah, as I move up. If you're on a very low time frame, you can see it. You can see it kind of turn, but as you go up higher,
Look
it
at
may
that,
make a
went right
difference.
to our.
There you go, yeah. That's you can't beat that, Jeff.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can't beat that. The diagram and what happened.
Almost like we know what we're talking about sometimes.
I don't know anything.
Thanks, Liz. We'll see you later. All right, so now what we just hit was at 127 extension.
That first one is the 127.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
doesn't mean we're out of the woods. It just said, hey, price changed direction there, and that was a projected move. And that projected move was from basically, if I were to label these if this was point A, and B, okay. So from low to high, extending down to a 127 extension. Or 161.8.
And is the other one 161.8? Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you still have some risk on the trade.
So one thing that I do, Jeff, there, if this is potentially a pivot and a change in direction back up, I'll add my Fibonacci, but I won't add it from the highs or previous. I'll add it to the settle price, and the settle price for the MES is 42.05. So that way it might help me with a quick retracement to the 23.6, maybe 38.2.
And with a lot of these, where we have the three touches on the left and the pivot more on the right. Okay, a lot of these can also be used, especially if the slope is very steep. is using that as a potential V-shape reversal.
Yeah, so that area that you just identified there, let's see, the 88 that is the 38.2 retrace, 4186 2075. The
Mhm.
23 is 4182 50. So it's like same area, you know.
Excellent. Are you guys liking this stuff?
Well, the more things that gel together, the better the odds enhancers. That helps so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because once
I
we
mean-
start that V-shaped reversal, you're using 5 to 6. Okay, you're gonna get a 78% retracement. Often a shallow pullback. 23 before price finishes its move. And that the way that you arrive at a lot of this is that you get a good understanding of picture perfect past trades and what the footprint has been in the past. You start seeing that the behavior, you also see that once we get above this, like 481.5, there's a big pocket right here. Look at that light volume. This thing should shoot straight up to about 41.85, which is that old resistance. Okay, and you can already see that there's some volume sitting right there. Okay, in a perfect world, that's what we would look for, that quick spike up there. Okay, and look to take a profit.
So if I were long right now, my first profit would probably be that 23.6, which is the 4182 50.
We got the NASDAQ too, didn't we? And we have a trailing stop on the NASDAQ, so I'm just leaving that one alone. I use a ATR for that. Okay, just looking for that pop. Once I get that pop up into that 4184 area, I'm going to exit. And as soon as Chris is getting in, I'm going to get out. How's that?
Well,
Oh!
the problem
I'm
is,
already out.
I think I'm going to cancel my trade. I'm in a confirmation to go long at the proximal line. So obviously that's not going to work. Uh,
But it's interesting how the Fibonacci kind of helps guide you on some type of a bounce, and it generally bounces the 23.6.
mhm.
Come on, get back up there. Yeah, I don't like those sudden little drops. What drives me now is just be out there is the P&L.
The dollar is green now. The
Yeah,
moment.
just watching that inside candle on a 30-minute chart. Russell's still holding, so we didn't miss anything on the Russell. Still working this area here. Yeah, that place where you had your breakout, where if you bring it down to about 41.82, that's when you're going to get that, where that light volume is, you'll get a pop. All right, and we're at the top of the hour. Yeah, we need the dollar to come down, don't we? Now we're just monitoring the stocks. And if you're starting to feel a little uncomfortable, it's okay to take your profits. Now we need a little more help from the stocks. Right now, this is nothing more than just a bounce. We need to see some big green candles start to come in on these stocks. Amazon's helping. Meta, we need some help from Microsoft.
Yeah, so 1 o'clock just hit here. Sometimes it gets a little hairy before they make their move.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We got a little off topic. We'll refocus on our topic tomorrow. Hopefully you guys saw some nice little trade opportunities, some little trade setups. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, and I'll go over into the Discord room. I'll see you guys over there shortly. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks-
Awesome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chris.
Can't beat the nugget.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.